Welcome back to Petroma Therapy, Spring Summer, Episode 3, The Wheel of Life. How are you today?
I haven't slept well. We just got sleep just the other day, and I thought, is this connected? That we've just been talking about sleep, and I haven't slept well. And but other than that, I'm fine because sleep is that special thing not everybody gets enough of. How are you? Did you sleep well?
It's so interesting because I thought in the last episode we were going to talk about some techniques of being able to go to sleep better. And you had mentioned at some point in time to switch your head to the foot of the bed,
Mm-hmm.
put your pillows there. And so I tried that last night. I
Yeah.
had the best night of sleep
Aren't you confused?
because my head is in the same parallel position as the window to one side and the opening of the door to the other. So I had like a fabulous night of sleep. I feel great.
Are you saying you liked it?
Sleeping?
With the
Yeah.
head at the feet of your bed.
Well, I mean, I put on new sheets, and so it wasn't the foot. It was a relocated new head of the bed.
Yeah, well, there is another tip. I just not sure if I told you that before. Just elevate your legs a little bit and see if it works even better.
Well, what I do is I sometimes put a pillow between my knees.
Yeah, but you never tried to do it while you're headed at the feet of bed. So try to
Oh
do it
my
again.
God. When
Yeah, but don't be confused. Remember
Okay,
the
now,
foot floor. Remember the floor plan. Remember the floor plan in case you get confused and wake up and think, what am I? What's going on with me? Remember where you
I
are.
know a friend has his guitar here, and I got out of the bed and almost stepped into his guitar.
Yeah. Well, I hope it was put it in the guitar case so it wouldn't get
It
broken.
was in the guitar case.
It was. Mm.
Yeah, my foot just grazed the edge of the guitar case.
Also, if you want to go to sleep, you should probably take a shower before you go into bed. It help you cool down, and generally that helps. I'm not sure if it works in Dallas because it's Texas, but it works here for me in Russia.
It, it it works everywhere because we're all humans.
We are.
Which brings us to our topic, the wheel of life. And if you notice on our cover shot, there is a very old Turkish ceramic plate that has some dark blues, and it is kind of in a mandala motif. So I see the wheel of life as related to the archetype of the mandala and unity and the cycles of the seasons and just almost everything.
Uh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we're talking about the same thing because in my experience, the way of life is some kind of a tool which helps you visualize all the important areas of your life, which is used by life
Yeah.
coaches and career coaches, like business, finances, whatever, family, romance. But we were gonna talk to about the wheel of samsara, which is another wheel of life, right?
Yes. Well, yes, it is. The Buddhist use the wheel of samsara, and the word in Sanskrit is Vava Chakra. So
Baba.
it is related to our chakras, and it's the cycle of birth and then life and then death and then rebirth. So everything goes through those phases. For example, romance or a new job or
Reminds
you
me
move to a new house.
reminds me of a wristwatch. I told you before. It's going. I mean, the hands they go the same way all the time, but it seems like there is first time each day, like something new, but it's all going in the same circle.
Your wristwatch?
Yeah. Oh, well, unless it's
I know.
electronic.
Okay, well, what I have been thinking about the wheel of life is that the situation we are born into is somehow related to our past. So it could be, if you're a Buddhist, you actually believe in karma, or you could think about it more loosely. For example, my past comes from an Italian and a Hispanic heritage on my mother's side. And then my father's side, he was from Wales. So I am part whale and part lasagna.
Part of what?
So anyhow, my family background is something I'm born into. So what is your family background that you're born into?
I wish I knew who my predecessors were and how many generations I could trace back my ancestry, but I could only name my grandmother and grandfather. That's it. And they,
Is it on your mother's side or father's side?
my father's side, yeah. And when I look at the genealogy tree of the royal family of the United Kingdom, for instance, I always feel this feeling of envy that people know how, like 1,000 years ago, they know who their predecessor were, and I think, isn't that wonderful? And they say they have the DNA test these days, which you can take and get to know whether your ancestors were from India or from Africa, or would you just say we all come from Africa? So
Well, it's
I don't
kind of
know.
interesting because I am a very, very old Natasha. And I once went to a fortune teller. I don't know, maybe I was in college or something, at a carnival or a fair. And I held out my hand. And this woman said, "You have a Russian background and you were on a pirate ship." So it might just be coincidence, it might be a lie. But as I was growing up, my father studied and spoke Russian. I got very fascinated with Russian and French literature. And so I don't know if that was at a coincidence or was that karma. Did you ever go to a fortune teller? Or,
No, never, never. I mean, maybe I would like to, but when you mentioned old, I remember when there was this man that saw my picture once. He told me that you have a very old soul, and I remember the wheel of samsara says, or the teachings, the philosophy of samsara, Hinduism. They say we have 108 lives, so your soul probably relieves its 38 cycle, or maybe 40s or 50s, I don't know. And when you mentioned old, you mean a bodily existence, right? Not the spiritual one.
no, I feel that I have a very old soul
Like how old?
because
How old would your soul be in terms of samsara wheel?
okay, well, hang on a minute. Escúchame.
Mine
Okay,
would be
when
mine would be 30
I
seconds.
have all these. You're 32 years old.
30 seconds soul old. 30-second life. Okay, so we have 108
32.
lives. 32, yeah. We have 108 lives, and mine probably is 32. Someone told me that before. I don't remember why or where, but I remember the number. So
Okay,
I'm living my
okay,
30-second life, and I wonder
okay.
what
Well,
would your life be?
okay. So let me say this. That when I before I met you some years ago, I was opening up some boxes and some rearranging some things, and I saw this pin, wooden pin from Russia, that a principal brought me back to Houston from Moscow. And then also I saw this plate that I have. It's a cup and saucer, and it's made in Russia. And then, like a few days later, I somehow randomly came across you on some kind of art community, and I felt like it was kind of a bizarro karma connection. So, as far as how old is my soul, I have an idea that there is an age at which some trauma took place or some very harsh incidents, and that you go to that point and start trying to repair it, or life helps you repair it. So I feel like I'm probably like in karma 45,
Wow.
but I don't know,
Of course you don't, but maybe a fortune teller would be able to tell you, or maybe not. Uh,
Well, I also read, I have heard, I've actually taught some Eastern philosophy to high school students, which and they love it, especially in a Catholic school. Okay, so anyhow, I had read that there are these situations or a soul that you're born into, and that some people are called hungry ghosts. They become addicts. Some people that are divas, DEVA, believe that they're very privileged. And some creatures that are hell beings come into this life with anger issues. So if you think about the people that you know that are addicts, they're addicted to work, they're addicted to sex, they're addicted to smoking. The Wheel of Life would say that they are hungry ghosts working out their addiction issues. And that hell beings have anger issues. So I know that in my personal family, um, there are several people that have some anger issues.
you see, all the things you mentioned, addiction and anger, they're not good things. They are linked to suffering, which I think was like when I was 5 years ago, I already knew that Buddhism considers suffering the desired reason of suffering. And recently, like 10 years ago or so, I thought, what would I prefer? Not to be born at all, or to get born and suffer and live and not have some happiness, or instead. And I decided, Blackett, I prefer to experience it all, to be born and to live life, to suffer. God forbid, I don't want to suffer, of course, like all of us, but and like none of us, but and then to die. I know I'm gonna die, but Blackett, again, I decided it. That was my choice, because not to avoid the soul and not to be born at all is much worse, right? Do you
Yes,
do you
yes.
do
And
you
like,
agree?
well, we have the expression, it is better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all.
I heard
So
that.
if we think of like young love, when you're 15 or when you're 25 or when you're 35, there's a lot of failed love, but still I would go back for
For to this cycle, right? to this world of
No,
illusion.
to
This,
these old, no, no. I remember I was 15 years old. I was in Rimini, Italy, and I was wandering around with my little sister, and there were these Italian boys hanging out of the windows saying, "Hey, Americano, hey, Americano." That felt fabulous.
see, the time is
Right?
time. I'm just. You said you were 15, and I think when I remember myself when 15, it doesn't make any difference between what happened yesterday and 20 or 30 or 40 years ago. It feels just the same. So time works in very strange ways. Sometimes you cannot wait for another 10 minutes. Sometimes 40 years they go in a blink of an eye. Um,
Exactly.
so for you it's the same because soul probably is never getting old, and the time experience is different for the soul than for your body. And
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
Do you have a
exactly.
do you have any image or depiction of samsara wheel in front? Have you ever seen it? Because I'm asking because I've seen this. I haven't noticed it before, but it is held by some kind of monster. Some kind of monster. I mean, the wheel of samsara. It is held by.
Right. It is a creature. It kind of looks like he's kind of vomiting out the world. It's coming out of his mouth. But that's all. Those are all the creatures of being. And in our life, the universe sends us bodhisattvas. So a bodhisattva is somebody who has completed the tasks of life, and then instead of flipping off into nirvana, he or she comes back into this world to teach people lessons. And that way they can learn to be liberated from the wheel of suffering. So, for example, suppose I have one daughter who is very wise, very kind, very patient, and she's my daughter. Chronologically, I must know more than she does. But there's something about this one daughter that is very much like Bodhisattva, teaching me things about how to be in the world: calm, patient, non confrontational.
That makes me think of what we spoke about 10 minutes ago, because some people, even if it's your own child, they've lived more life than you do. Their soul may relive in 42nd or 50 years life, but yours only 30 or 40. So you cannot teach that
Yes.
your child because your old is younger than hers, or your case, hers, because
Yes.
she's. And so that I like it. I like the idea. I think it has merit, and sometimes I seen the same thing with the family of my relatives, with my kids, with my own kids, and with me and my parents. Do you know
Well,
if,
it's interesting.
you mentioned
It's
Bodhisattva?
very interesting.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah. Go ahead. You go ahead.
No, no, you were going to say it's interesting. Because the connection, there's a ping. I didn't want to disturb you, but interrupt you. Say again. It's interesting. What?
Well, when this one daughter was maybe 4 or 5 years old, she was into Montessori program, and there were children from all around the world, from Sri Lanka, from France, from Mexico, and from Texas. And this was a school in Houston. And she's only 4 or 5 years old. So she goes to a little birthday party. So I'm an American. I'm thinking, oh, they're going to have hot dogs, hamburgers, cake. It's going to be a child's birthday party. So she comes back from the birthday party, and this is a kid who's 4 years old. And I say, how was the party? And she says, I've decided to become a vegetarian. I don't want to eat anything that had a mother. This is a 4-year-old kid who was sitting with her little friend, and the friend was not eating any meat. So this kid of mine at age 4 was having a philosophy discussion with another 4-year-old. And then I understood this was something special.
You know, when you mentioned vegetarian, I'm totally okay with vegetarians as long as nobody forced me to be one. I've nothing against it, nothing against eating meat or nothing
Yeah.
against be vegetarian, which again makes me think about Buddhism. Because in Buddhism, I think when you ask them, what is it about? They say, well, it's this and that. And they want to get rid of you as soon as possible. Well, at least I have just one experience. They don't want to convert you into it like any other religion, for instance, or maybe that was just my experience. And when they say something to answer a question and then trying to get rid of you, you feel some kind of puzzles, because how come he doesn't want you to be like he's a lie or stuff. Hey, have you ever met any Buddhist personally?
Well, yes. I was teaching at a university in Houston, and one of my assignments was to work at the Writing Center. And Houston's quite an international cosmopolitan city. And the campus that I was on had even more people from all around the world. So I'm sitting there, and this guy with a shaved head and kind of a pink robe came in to work on his paper. And I was helping with his paper. And then we later became friends. And then my daughter walked in one day, and then all three of us went out to eat. And he said he had never eaten pizza before. And so we ate pizza together. And he was so curious about life and so positive. And he asked me questions about religion, but in a very friendly, nice way. Now, another way that Buddhism is commercialized, at least here in Dallas, everybody's got their studios, yoga studios. They're like trying to hustle you for yoga lessons. So I don't think those guys are really Buddhists. I think they're commercial capitalists.
What I agree with you. The money and religion, I think, just don't click with each other. Don't.
Right.
But what I know, how I become familiarized with Buddhism is through Alan Watts' lectures. He was a Catholic priest, I guess. He lived in 1960s in San Salita, either such a city in California.
Yeah, California.
And there are so many, luckily, there are so many records of his lectures on YouTube and podcasts. And I used to listen to them everywhere. And I learned a lot. Somehow I liked it. Not everything, but that was not necessary. But
no, I like Alan Watts too. And also there is another person that I like very much, Thomas Merton. He was a writer in Manhattan. And he was very much of a hedonist, eat, drink, and be merry, have different girlfriends, whatever. He's living in New York City. And slowly he became drawn into these old cathedrals in Manhattan. And then he decided to explore becoming a monk. So he left the secular world to become a Cistercian monk. And then he had followers, and he gave lectures in like Nepal. And he was very interested in Buddhism. So he went from being a hedonist to becoming a Catholic priest to becoming a recluse, and then he was a lecturer in the Orient or in the East. And he was very fond of the Alan Watts way of doing it.
Alan Watts was originally from Britain, I guess, and I don't remember how he came to the U.S., but then he lived long in California. Maybe I don't remember. I have to look it up. My history of the Hazy. Well, I loved his lectures absolutely. If you ever listen to them, if you never listen to them, just try and see if it works. If you like it.
Yes, and we invite our listeners to subscribe and jot down a few comments and make a few suggestions. We're also going to be discussing summer drinks, paradise, self consciousness, and trains. Would you like to wrap it up here?
Yeah, I would like to wish everyone to find their way to nirvana. Nirvana is the paradise in the Western world, but in terms of Hinduism and samsara, I guess that's the final point where everyone should be strived to get to.
Namaste.
Namaste. Nice word to say goodbye.
Adios.
Adios.